just was blown away.
All these people, it was dark, taking it all in.
Completely unexpected.
Thousands.
There is nothing.
I needed to show up and see something bigger than me, something that reminded me that there was a story of hope.
What we're really looking for at Christmas is a place to have fun, a place that'll make us laugh and remind us what the season's all about. I had no idea that church could be like this.
What an informative and eye-opening clip that was by On Point Preparedness. I thank them for their work and would encourage you to subscribe to their YouTube channel as they present some great information. I also want to thank Sister Cindy Gore for posting the link to that video on the In Plain Sight Facebook page. And you know, as I watched that video, it really got me thinking about doing a follow-up video to what I did previously regarding the church, how I posed the question of whether the church was the plan of Yahweh from the beginning, or has it been basically part of Satan's matrix of control. And you know, I love the feedback that I got from the previous video. Many of you have posted some great comments and such great, awesome encouragement. I was actually expecting to get a lot of backlash, but thankfully many of you are seeing the same things, that you have come out of the church system. Even Sister Cindy herself, she was high up in church ministry, and she herself came out of it and is doing a great job with her home group, and she also has a Facebook page and ministry that is going. So I thank and applaud people like Cindy and those, all of you out there who have come out of the pagan church system, this Babylonian Nimrod pagan church system. Now, definitely I am not out to attack Christians or out to attack churches. Again, this video is meant more to inform rather than to attack. And you know, I just wanted to do again a follow-up to what I presented in the previous video, because I just felt that more thoughts have come to my heart and mind regarding this certain topic, because really the church really has become a matrix of control. And you know, as we spoke in the previous video, we talked about Easter, that is actually about Ishtar, that it is sex, ritual, magic, fertility, magic. That is what Ishtar or Easter is really all about. Then we spoke about the pagan origins of Christmas, and how, you know, Jesus was definitely, or Yeshua was definitely not born on December 25th, and where it originates from, that it's a Roman pagan festival, a holiday of Saturnalia. It's a week-long period of lawlessness celebrated between December 17th and the 25th. During this period, Roman courts were closed, and Roman law dictated that no one could be punished for damaging property or injuring people during the week-long celebration. The festival began when Roman authorities chose an enemy of the Roman people to represent the Lord of Misrule. Each Roman community selected a victim whom they forced to indulge in food and other physical pleasures throughout the week. At the festival's conclusion, December 25th, the Roman authorities believed they were destroying the forces of darkness by brutally murdering this innocent man or woman. So basically a sacrifice. Human sacrifice is taking place. So in addition to human sacrifice, he mentions more customs, widespread intoxication, going from house to house while singing naked, rape and other sexual license, and consuming human-shaped biscuits. So there was many more things associated with this pagan festival of Christmas, or Saturnalia. In the 4th century, Christianity imported the Saturnalia festival, hoping to take the pagan masses in from it. Okay, so this is basically where Christmas has come from, which again we discussed in the previous video. Then we also discussed the etymology, or the meaning behind the word church, and where it is derived from the word circa. Okay, the Oxford English Dictionary gives this etymology of the word church. Okay, below are 3 quotes giving more information about the etymology of the word church. So from Wikipedia, the etymology of this word is generally assumed to be from the Greek kurios, oikos, house of the Lord, but this is most improbable as the word existed in all the Celtic dialects long before the introduction of the Greek. No doubt the word means a circle. The places of worship among the German and Celtic nations were always circular, witness circular Stonehenge, the most ancient stone megaliths on earth. So compare the Anglo-Saxon circle, a small church, with circle, a circle. In Scotland, it is called kirk, and in German, it is kirche. In English, it is the word circa, with C having the K sound. So Kirka or Circa was also the name of a goddess. Kirka or Circa was the daughter of the sun god, basically Nimrod, or Baal, who was famous for taming wild animals for her circus. Keep in mind this circus, the fact that circa or church, basically circuses, comes from the same word. Okay, so Circe was an evil or perhaps just cruelly quirky sorceress. She was very powerful and turned all of Odysseus' men into swine. Remember that as well, circus and swine. We're going to talk about that later. And they barely escaped. She also had the power to purify and cleanse Argonauts for the murder of these. Anyway, Circe was the daughter of Helios, the sun, basically sun god, Nimrod, Baal, whatever you want to call it. Okay, and she was way dangerous because she was powerful and very bored. Okay, so basically this is what Circe is. She was a sorceress. She was a goddess. She did very bad things. She basically turned men into animals and is basically also the same root word for circus. So keep those in the back of your mind as we keep going. And basically when we look at the modern church, now of course this was a picture I showed in the last video. This is, I believe, from a good old Hillsong in Australia, and you got people seemingly worshiping and exalting the name of Jesus, but really this is nothing but, to me, a big production. This is just gimmicks. This is modern technology and lighting and sound and all the fancy equipment and all the technological wonders, and this is the stuff that is drawing people these days. And to me, this is not real worship, because as we have stated before, worship is a lifestyle. It is choosing to live your life every day following the commandments of Yahweh. Yeshua said that if you love me, you will obey my commands. That is what worship is. We are to worship God every single day of our lives. But coming into a church service or a circa sun god service has nothing to do with worship. Lifting our hands up and praising Jesus and for an hour or so and just making it all about music. Music has nothing to do with worship. It is about how we are living our lives. But sadly, this is what we're being taught in many of the mainstream churches. This is a shot of one of the Hillsong United concerts in my hometown of Toronto, Canada. They came to Toronto just last year. Actually, no, sorry, this past year in the summer. Came to the Air Canada Centre. And of course, what are they playing under? In a cube. Okay, totally, to me, representing the cube of Saturn. You can see, all kinds of, symbolism going on here. This was in a different Hillsong concert also in 2016. You can see, major Illuminati staircase symbolism or the twisted staircase, all that kind of thing. You can see even in their own logo, okay, in their own, their latest album, they have the United turned upside down, so all out paganism. You got the black and white duality, as above, so below, being shown in these Hillsong albums. And so, it really much seems to me that these people are none other than, pagans. They are celebrating paganism and they are putting it in plain sight for us. And many will remember the Christmas spectacular last year in 2015. I can only imagine what they've got planned for 2016. But of course, they had dancing girls, showing off the legs, and basically again paganism. You've got again upside down triangles, flashing on the screen behind them. So this is what is going on in much of the church these days, especially with these mega churches. Again, here's another another scene from Hillsong. You've got again the triangle. People want to say, "Oh, that's Mount Zion," but really, you got even the Ouroboros above them there. So this, to me, when they want to say that's Mount Zion, to me that is just code for the Zionist Illuminati, who are totally controlling this church, and I believe who are behind a lot of these mega church movements. Okay, so we really have to take note of what is going on there. There you go, another one of the kind of portal symbolism going on there in the background. So really, this is just all show business and basically like the circus. And again, keep that circus in mind, because then you got other churches. This is a shot from Second Baptist Church in Houston, and again, all about lighting and sounds and entertainment. Again, looks like just basically circus performers in the church. And was this what God, our Father Yahweh, and His Son Yeshua intended for His people? I have to say an emphatic no. I do not believe this is what the church or God's people were meant to be doing. It does not seem right to me at all. It seems like it has gone way out of control. And again, it seems to have become a big circus, just as what we see here, Circe, the goddess of sorcery, the daughter of the sun god, performing her sorcery, turning men into wild animals and taming them. This is what the church has become, like a bunch of performing monkeys. And I hate to say that, but sadly, this is what is going on. And of course, we spoke about, Christmas and Easter, but when we look at even the tree, this is all about idol worship. It's right in Jeremiah 10. Thus says Yahuwah, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. For the customs of the people are vain. For one cuts a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workman with the axe. They deck it with gold and silver. They fasten it with nails and hammers, and that move not. So this is basically praise and worship to a Christmas tree. Many know that the Christmas tree actually represents the phallic of Nimrod, and the wreath represents the womb of Isis. This is what is happening. So really, all this stuff is pagan ritual, sex magic worship. Okay, what is happening during Christmas? The same thing with Easter. It is also fertility, sex magic. Just as is shown right in Ezekiel 8:14, then he brought me to the doors of the gates of the Lord's house, which was toward the north, and behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. And later on in that same chapter, it goes on about bowing down to the sun god. So right in Ezekiel 8, he deals with the whole Christmas and Easter traditions and practices and where it comes from. So basically, the practices of Easter are rooted in the weeping of Tammuz practices, and the traditions of Christmas are rooted in sun god Baal worship. Okay, they're all ritual, pagan rituals that is taking place, sex magic rituals and all that kind of thing. So this is really what Christmas and Easter are rooted in. But what we really should be celebrating are the divine appointments, the feasts of the Lord, the Moedim, Passover, unleavened bread, first fruits, Pentecost, trumpets, atonement, and tabernacles. These are the 7 feasts, as Abba Yahweh says in Leviticus 23, these are my feasts, these are my appointed times, these are the things that we should be celebrating. But instead, the church wants to do this, they want to do Christmas, they want to do Easter, they want to do all these different things that are completely unbiblical. But really what they're doing, they don't even realize the rituals that are happening, and it has them under a spell. Another thing that I found out, that also where Christians don't want to hear is, so many want to talk about this prosperity teaching, this prosperity gospel. And I'm here to tell you that prosperity is again rooted in Baal worship. I found a great article that talks about the fertility cults of Canaan, things that the children of Israel were commanded not to do. I'm not going to go through the entire article, but I'm going to show you something right here that I find very, very interesting. And it says right here that Baal's worshippers appeased him by offering sacrifices, usually animals such as sheep or bulls. This is from 1 Kings 18:23. Some scholars believe that the Canaanites also sacrificed pigs, that God prohibited his people from eating pork, in part to prevent this horrible cult from being established among them. So see Isaiah 65, 1-5. As an example of Israel's participating in the pagan practices of Canaanites. At times of crisis, Baal's followers sacrificed their children, apparently the firstborn of the community, to gain personal prosperity. So if you ask me, the prosperity gospel and saying that we're supposed to be blessed and have money and riches, again, it is rooted in Baal worship. There is nothing Christian or godly or of the ways of Yahweh in that prosperity gospel that so many of these Word of Faith teachers preach, whether it's Joel Osteen, T.D. Jakes, Rick Warren, Brian Houston, Joyce Meyer, Creflo Dollar. I can go on, but prosperity teaching, in my humble opinion, is rooted in Baal worship, just as the practices of Easter are rooted in Baal worship, just as the practices of Christmas or Saturnalia are rooted in Baal worship. Same with the prosperity gospel, okay? It is rooted also in Baal worship. So, when we want to talk about these things, people literally get angry. They don't want to get told that Christmas is a pagan celebration. They don't want to get told that the show business and entertainment is wrong. They don't want to get told that Christmas is a pagan celebration of the sun god, of Saturnalia. They don't want to get told that Easter is also a sex, magic, fertility ritual and has nothing to do with the resurrection of Yeshua. They don't want to get told to celebrate the feasts of the Lord. They think that's all part of the old law, the old that those things have been done away with. They definitely don't want to get told that prosperity is a bad thing. They want to think they live in blessed lives. They also definitely don't want to hear about the biblical cosmology of our world. I have had so many discussions with Christians lately, and they have literally turned my wife and I into outcasts. They think that we are crazy and out of our minds, and that there is no possible way that we could be living on a flat earth, that there's just way too much evidence for a globe. But it's sad to say that these people are so programmed, they just cannot hear the truth anymore. They cannot see with their own eyes that the world is flat. And another thing that they don't want to hear about is definitely the second coming of Christ, something that we touched on in the last video. Most pastors and teachers and Christians in general, they just do not want to hear about this because they are too busy living their blessed lives, living materially, living for their trips and their houses and their material ways, and they love living in this world. They are very content in this world. They do not want to hear that this world is temporary, that it is coming to an end. They just do not want to hear these things. And when you do try to talk about it, I really like this meme. It says, brace yourself, angry Christian posts are coming. And I have to say that when my wife and I started waking up a couple years ago, we took it upon ourselves to really start posting truth on Facebook, to use our Facebook profiles to post not just the normal mundane things that everybody seems to post. We wanted to post truth. We wanted to get people to wake up. But sad to say that 99.9% of the backlash that we got were from Christians. Secular people didn't even bother with us. It didn't even seem to faze them what we were posting. But interestingly enough, almost 100% of the animosity or of the horrible comments and anger that we got were from Christians. So why is that? They literally get so angry when you want to talk about the second coming, when you want to talk about the biblical cosmology of the earth, when you want to say that prosperity gospel is rooted in Baal worship, when you want to tell them we should be focusing on the feasts of the Lord. If you want to celebrate something, these are what we should be celebrating. They get angry when you tell them about what Easter is all about. They get really angry when you want to tell them what Christmas is really all about. So why is that? The more I think about it and the more I ponder this and pray about it, the more it makes sense of what we spoke about in the last video on the church, that Christians who are under the mainstream church system are under the spell of the sorceress Circe. This is what is going on because, again, Christmas is a pagan ritual celebration, okay? That's exactly what it is. There's no way around that. Easter is also a pagan ritual celebration. This is what they're doing. They have put themselves under the spell of Circe, of the daughter of the sun god, Mystery Babylon, the harlot church system. And the Lord Yahweh has told us to come out of her, my people. He wants us to come out of this pagan church system because, again, Circe is really the root word of the church, circa or circus. And even what is really funny is that, not funny, but how the church has literally become a circus because the church is so under the spell of Circe, of the sorceress, that she has turned the church into literally a circus. Many, again, remember the fiasco last year, the Christmas spectacular at Hillsong, literally like performing girls showing off, so much of their bodies. And of course, many will remember the naked cowboy that took place earlier this year. Again, the church is really being turned into a circus, a place of performing monkeys. This is exactly what is going on, and they do not want to hear that these things are wrong because they are under the spell of Circe, who is turning them into performing monkeys. And I know that Yeshua really hit the nail on the head in Matthew 7 when he says, "Do not give what is holy to the dogs or cast your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn and tear you to pieces." And the CJB, the Complete Jewish Bible, pretty much reiterates the same thing. Do not give to dogs what is holy, and don't throw your pearls to the pigs. If you do, they may trample them under their feet and then turn and attack you. So just as It was shown in the story of Circe that she could turn men into animals, turn them into swine. Literally, the Lord is showing that when we try to open people's eyes to the truth, if they don't want to hear it, they will literally behave like pigs and turn and tear you to pieces. They do not want to hear your pearls of wisdom, which is really sad, because in our hearts, we want to try and help people wake up, but instead they turn around and trample what we try to tell them. And it's a really sad state of affairs of what is happening, because they get angry and they trample you, and they act like animals because they are under the spell of Circe. They cannot get past the mind control of the church. And same with this verse from Galatians 4:16. Am I therefore become your enemy because I tell you the truth? Here you've got someone trying to warn the sheep of the wolf that is there, and instead they kick him out as the one that's trying to warn them. They kick them out as a troublemaker, but the wolf stays there. And of course, what is he going to do? The wolf is going to devour them. And that is exactly what is going on with the church today. They do not want to hear the truth. They get very angry. They behave like this. They blow their stack. They don't want to hear it at all. They tell you that you are crazy, that you are out of your mind, that you have no proof, that it's not in the Bible. They would rather go by their opinions rather than hear the truth. They have literally become our enemies. And I was so touched to hear the stories of so many of you who have come out of the church system, many of you who have come up against such antagonism, and so many people that have come against you because you've been trying to take a stand for the truth. I applaud you, because you have been called out of the pagan church system, out of the Circe, out of the sorcery. You have come out from the spell of Circe, and you are coming into the truth. You are rising up as the bride of Christ. But sadly, the megachurch, and here you go, this is the original megachurch, of course, the Vatican. People, thousands if not millions of people flock to this place every year. And this mega church system, this Babylonian system, is really gripping many people's lives. Here's a shot from good old, Joel Osteen's place, and all these gimmicks that they use that draw people. Of course, he's got the good old Globe programming going on in the background there. But people are drawn to these mega churches. And, the more I look at how the New Testament or the Bible talks about the church, or how things were done in the apostles' day, the more it seems clear and evident to me that this was what the church, or the people, the ecclesia, the called out ones, the gathering together of ourselves, was supposed to be in small home group communities, messianic communities, as we spoke about last time, that this word church was inserted by the Vatican. It was never supposed to be there. This is a pagan word, but basically sun god worship. And really, the ecclesia, the called out people, are to be in small groups, messianic communities. This is where people can connect, where people can be accountable, or where they can be prayed for, where we can all share in the teaching and of the word. It doesn't have to be one person sharing the word all the time. We can all take turns doing that, and everyone is supposed to play a part in God's, or Abba Yahweh's, called out people. And it also makes me think of the flood of Noah, because what I find fascinating is that Noah, as we know, preached the warning that the flood was coming. Nobody believed him. He was mocked at. He was ridiculed. He preached for possibly over 100 years. But who got saved in the ark? Only 8 people, and that was his immediate family: Noah, his wife, his sons, and their wives. So 8 people. So after all of those decades of preaching, only 8 people got saved. And that really makes me believe that the Lord God, Abba Yahweh, is just not concerned with numbers. Even though, many of our churches these days, they all love their numbers, their money, they want to rake in their tithes and their offerings, all scamming the people. And even though they say that the law was done with, but yet they go back into that same law and try to deceive people with the whole tithing thing, when tithing has nothing to do with money. But all they care about is their numbers and their money. But really, Abba Yahweh is not concerned with numbers at all. He knows who belongs to him, and he will take who is ready for him. It doesn't matter when the appointed time comes, just as Yeshua said himself, that just as in the days of Noah, so will the coming of the Son of Man be, that just as they were eating and drinking and being given in marriage and getting married, right up until the time they entered the ark, then all of a sudden, sudden destruction came. And so that is what is happening. When the time comes and the judgment is about to be poured out, God is going to take his people. And, it doesn't matter who is ready and who is not ready, because when the appointed time comes, numbers just do not matter to God. He will take who are his, and the rest will be left behind to suffer the judgment. And, I really love the heart cry of the Lord. I really believe it's shown both in the Old Testament and the New Testament. In Exodus 19, if we look at the CJB, right from verse 5, now if you'll pay attention, careful attention to what I say and keep my covenant, then you will be my own treasure from among all the peoples, from all the earth, for all the earth is mine, and you will be a kingdom of Konaim, a kingdom of priests, and a holy nation, as is shown in the New King James. These are the words which you shall speak to the children of Israel. Okay, so the Lord God, Abba Yahweh, wants us to be his special treasure above all the people. He wants us to be a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. This was in Exodus 19, before the law was given, and the same thing is echoed in the New Testament in 1 Peter 2:9. But you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people of God's own possession, that you may proclaim the excellencies of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. Again, called out. We are to be the ecclesia, the called out ones who come out of darkness, okay, who come out of paganism, out of all of this circus nonsense, out of all this sorcery, out of all these pagan practices that we should not be participating in. All right, we need to be observing the feasts of the Lord. These are the things that we should be celebrating, the appointed times, the dress rehearsals, because the appointed times are coming to come out of paganism, Ishtar practices, Nimrod and Saturnalia practices. These are paganism. We do not need to have such circus entertainment in amongst God's ecclesia. These things are not needed. We need to be a royal priesthood called out of darkness into his marvelous light. How can we be holy, a holy nation and a royal priesthood, if we are practicing pagan things? It just doesn't make any sense. And, that's what I want to leave with you today. We are to be a called out people, a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation. Also remember 1 Timothy 6:11. But if we are people of God, we must flee these things and pursue righteousness, godliness, faith, love, patience, and gentleness. Okay, to flee false or different doctrines, to flee the desires to be rich, to flee other things like youthful lust, fornication, idolatry. Same goes along with the pagan practices of Saturnalia, Christmas. The Mass of Christ was actually what Christmas actually means, the replacement or the death of Christ. That is actually what they're celebrating. They don't even realize the sex ritual fertility practices of Ishtar, of Easter, the prosperity gospel that is also rooted in Baal worship. We are to flee these things because we are the ecclesia. We are the called out ones. So let us focus on that. Let us be the ecclesia. Let us be the called out ones. Let us not run for these things. These mega churches, their scams, their schemes, their gimmicks, all this kind of thing. This is what the devil wants us to go for. They want us to go for all these gimmicks, all this entertainment, all this show business, all this circus nonsense. Sadly, this is what many of the people of God have become. They are under the spell of Circe. Okay, they do not realize that they are under this spell. They've been turned literally into performing monkeys. I hate to say that. I'm not trying to sound rude or mock people, but really, Circe, the sorceress, is controlling this Babylonian church system, and we need to get out of it. We need to be the ecclesia. So I thank you for checking out this second part of these church videos. Again, pray for the people who are still stuck in the mainstream church. Pray that they come out. Pray that they join the camp of the wise virgins and come out of the camp of the foolish virgins. Thankfully, the Lord Yeshua is not exclusive. He is inclusive. He wants anybody that will call upon him, anyone that is in the mainstream and going along with the crowd. Anytime they can come out, just pray that they see the light and that they come out, because literally I fully believe the fact that the church is so far gone in paganism that it is a big sign of the end, that Yeshua is coming very soon for his bride. the ecclesia. I believe the called out ones are the true bride of Yeshua, who are getting themselves ready, who are purifying themselves, and are getting ready for their king, their husband, their master to come and take them to the Father's house. God bless you. So since the last two attempts to show you this video clip was unsuccessful and received a copyright strike yet again, this time from Brian Houston himself, the strike came from Hillsong Sydney with his name on it, and you would think that with only 2 days left to go to their Nimrod Day on December 25th, that he would have much more pressing engagements and better things to do. Obviously, he has too much time on his hands still, but anyway, I guess they just don't like getting exposed, these Hillsong people. It's a clip from 2014 of a Hillsong London Christmas production, and these people just don't want to get exposed. And my lovely wife, who is also brilliant, I might add, gave me the idea of just showing screenshots from that particular clip. So that's what I'm going to do. I will show you screenshots and the little captions that I had inserted there myself. And this one starts off with just saying Christmas 2014 Hillsong London. You can already see the show business going on. As we keep going, you'll see stuff like, mist machines and lighting and all this kind of stuff, the fancy equipment, but don't fall for the glamour and the entertainment. This is all that these people are about. And I found it quite interesting that they had half-naked men performing on stage, basically to be made out as tribal people, but really they were focusing a lot on these guys' bodies, on their torsos, which you will see later on. And there is tons of entertainment to see here, which you will be able to view for yourself as we go through these screenshots. And I will also try to leave a link to that particular video if it already hasn't been taken down. But where in the Bible do performances even matter? I have never ever, in all of my research and study of the Word, I have never ever seen performances have ever mattered to God. You've got, again, more half-nakedness showing here for you, and I find it really interesting that Hillsong seems to parade these kind of things. And as we keep going, we'll see, like, to me, it seems as I watch this woman, singing, she is basically one of the main entertainers. There seems to be a lot of focus on self. This woman seems to be very, very full of herself and loves to perform. And, really, this girl deserves an award here because she should be on The Voice or American Idol. Like, literally, as I watch this, that's what it reminds me of. Like, I'm watching a entertainment or a show to be entertained. It's like The Voice or American Idol. That's really what this reminds me of, just all entertainment. And like I said before, here you go, them focusing on this guy's naked torso. Isn't that just awesome? That seems to be a regular common thing now with Hillsong. And as we keep going, more drummers come on the stage. I found it interesting that they've got the black and white colors on the drummers, a little bit of black and white duality going on there. And yet again, more performers. There's just more and more performers that just keep coming on stage. Now again, this was back in 2014. We all remember the fiasco even of last year, 2015, things that they were doing. But I found it interesting, that the New World Order is rising up and people are starving. But wow, this girl can just sing, man. I mean, just look at the expression on her face. She's just giving it her all and singing her heart out and giving the performance of her lifetime. But hey, who cares that the New World Order and the corrupt governments and, the world leaders and the Luciferian elite, that they're, basically getting away with their nonsense? Who cares? This girl can just sing her heart out, man. Like, I mean, look at the expression on her face. This is just a performance of a lifetime, if you ask me. And, the way it seems, or the way the church has become, they have just become so full of performers and rock stars, but there are just not enough teachers of the Word. Where are the true teachers of the Word anymore? It seems to me very, very hard to find a true teacher of the Word anymore in the church. They all want to be performers. They all want to be rock stars. And, what I find even more interesting about this is that, just to be, even more cool, the woman has a tattoo on her arm as well, yet something that, in my opinion, is very unbiblical. I don't believe that we should be putting markings or tattoos on ourselves. I believe the Word of God does speak of that as well. But of course, many Christians want to be cool and trendy, and they want to put tattoos on themselves. So, hey, have at it. And, then of course, the drummers do quite the amazing drum performance. I mean, it's just good enough for Broadway just to hear these guys. They're just phenomenal. They're in sync. They don't miss a beat. And it's just like, man, these guys can perform. So really, they should go on Broadway. But to me, broad is the way that leads to destruction. And many are on that path. Look at the many that are in here. There are many on this path. They're being deceived. They're being enamored. They're being drawn in by the Pied Piper, the Luciferian music, and all this emotionally charged atmosphere that they have here with the lights, the sounds, the music, the instruments, the technology, the everything, what have you. These people are just being drawn in. I mean, look at them. They're just captivated. And so to me, this is just completely depicting how broad the way is with all these people that are just seemingly, they think that they're worshiping God and doing a great thing, but this is accomplishing nothing. They're just being entertained. And yet again, more tribal dancers come up on stage. Shall we continue watching the circus? Like literally all these people are just enthralled watching this circus show. And as we keep going, we'll see the world is going to pot. There's people starving. There's major corruption going on. There's major pressing issues. But hey, let's dance. Let's just when the world goes to pot, the church just does a sing song and dances their heart out. And hey, that's what we're all about, the church, right? Let's just dance. It doesn't matter what's going on. And like I said before about American Idol or watching The Voice, now I'm thinking, am I watching, So You Think You Can Dance? Like that's what this really looks like. And again, the world is going to pot, but hey, we're the church, let's dance. We're in the circus, we're under the spell of Circa, we're worshiping God here, and we're doing a great thing. We're taking your tithes and offerings and coming up with all these productions, and hey, we're charging you anyways for this production, so let's just dance. And we just really need to realize that Christians are just being entertained. Perish the thought that we should stop the Christians from being entertained. They love this eye candy. They love these performances. They would rather sit there and be entertained. And this is what the church has become. Their itching ears, even I would say their itching eyes and their itching ears want to be given just to be indulged in their flesh. And, if we stop entertaining them, hey, they may actually open their Bibles. Oh my gosh, perish that thought. They may actually open their Bibles if they stop getting entertained. There's, quite a novel idea, wouldn't you think? Crack open that Bible that you probably have so much dust on or something like that, and I just think that we're in trouble. And these people who run these things, they know that they're in trouble if they have people waking up. They cannot have the Christians wake up, because then the lie is over. They'll stop giving their tithes, their offerings. They'll stop coming. They'll start realizing that this is all a farce, that they can't be doing this. And there goes their money-making machine. But hey, we won't be able to keep them asleep and keep giving us money anymore. So we got to keep them entertained. We got to keep the show going. We got to just keep the machine rolling and, keep them distracted. And, that's what's going to happen. And, if we actually wake up, we'll have to actually teach them biblical truth. But if they wake up, but hey, as the normal pastors would, or the modern day pharisaical pastors are, they don't really seem to have any much depth these days and can't actually teach real biblical truth to people who are awake. So that's going to be a big challenge for them if people actually wake up. But can't have that. So hey, just bring on more showgirls. We just can't have that. So, just bring on more entertainers, bring on more music, more instruments, more lights, more sounds, and bring on more showgirls just to keep people entertained. And, these people, if you can see, when we talked about the naked cowboy in a previous video, look at them. I mean, you can also see how risque the dresses are getting. I mean, we'll see that later. But hey, this was from 2014, so of course they totally redeemed themselves, 2 years later with the Naked Cowboy in their women's conference this past year, with Austin Powers at the women's conference in London, Hillsong, and the Naked Cowboy at the New York City Hillsong. So they completely redeemed themselves for these short skirts back in 2014. So hey, another thing I noticed is, can you see the star of Ishtar right there in your face? The 8-pointed star of Ishtar, yet again showing who they are truly worshiping, who is truly behind Hillsong. Isis, Ishtar, Nimrod, Semiramis, Tammuz, whatever you want to call it. And of course, to me, when I saw this, I could see a lot of black and white duality going on here. Black, white, black, white, and the people, the dancers behind. So again, showing their pagan nonsense, I believe. And as I was watching, when you see the actual clip, you're seeing these girls, well, mostly girls and guys in the background, the background dancers. They, to me, are totally gyrating around in like a pagan tribal kind of style. And it's just, to me, seemingly almost looking demonic. But anyways, that's my opinion. But yeah, they're gyrating like crazy. It looks like quite the tribal dance going on there in the background. But here we go again. Can these girls' dresses get any shorter? I mean, as they move around, you can see a lot of stuff here. Again, you can see, a lot of leg. You can see them posing very almost provocatively. So, I mean, again, can they get any shorter? Can they get more provocative? But like I said, they redeemed themselves with the Naked Cowboy. and Austin Powers. And, then they all of a sudden all get together here in a circle. Go figure, a circle. To me, could be possibly symbolizing the womb of Isis. I mean, we saw the Star of Ishtar already, earlier on, right there, Isis, Ishtar, same thing. And then later on, as they want to sing about the birth of Christ, which is really the birth of Tammuz, the resurrection of Nimrod, then they all get together in circle and start waving their arms out, almost looking like the womb is opening. That's what this completely reminded me of, the womb of Isis opening. And to me, I'm sorry, but I cannot see how any of this is glorifying to God whatsoever. I mean, look at the way they're running around, again, in short, very, very short skirts. It's all entertainment and, me, worship of self and all this kind of thing. Then we've got, again, you can see someone, again, literally, another half-naked man up on stage. And, again, how is this glorifying to God? You tell me how this is glorifying to God, because I don't believe that performances matter at all, that God doesn't care for this kind of thing. It seems more like glorification and worship of self, because people in the last days, just as the Apostle Paul said, will heap up for themselves teachers, and I would even go as far as saying entertainers, who will entertain them for what their itching ears and their bellies, their stomachs, what their self-worship wants to hear, what they want to feel. They don't want real biblical truth. They want to feel good. They want to have that warm, fuzzy feeling, and they want what their itching ears want to hear. That is exactly what is going on here. It's nothing more than that. It's just all fraud, fake, nonsense. And, everything seems so attractive and so, just draws you in and alluring. Don't fall for it. This is nothing more than paganism. It is not right. It is not glorifying to God. It's just entertainment. And nowhere in the Word of God will you ever see any move or revival of God happening with music and entertainment. It just is not there. Okay? Because literally the church has become the circus, full of performers, just as what you saw in that clip earlier on in this video by On Point Preparedness. They even had the name circus plastered on the back of the stage there for everyone to see. And literally, this is what the church has become. I mean, look at all of them. They are all performers, and this is what, people want to see, just a circus act. And, I guess it just breaks my heart to see what is happening with the church. They just are so enamored with these things. Even my own church in Canada, again, it's a very big place, and they love their productions. They love their music, their sound, their lighting, their fancy equipment, their, watered down gospels and all this kind of thing. But really, it has become such a circus full of performers. And, they are just, to me, under the spell of Circe, the sorceress, which is the root word for church. She is from the sun god. She is the daughter of the sun god, which is basically Baal, Nimrod, Lucifer, whatever you want to call it. Circe is the sorceress, the daughter of the sun god. And this is who these people are worshiping, and this is who has them under her spell. So don't be fooled. It's an excellent performance. I mean, look at this girl's face. Again, she's just like singing her heart out. She thinks she's, doing a great thing here, but it's just all entertainment. It's all about themselves. They're just glorifying themselves. Again, look at them. They're just like so into this kind of thing, but this is just nothing more than fake nonsense and just pleasing to the flesh, because it is only performance. There's no substance here. It's all flesh. It's all literally showing off the flesh and entertaining people, and that's really what this is all about. So again, don't be fooled. Interesting that they have sun god symbolism right in the background. This is what this performance ends with, the sun god. So remember, Circe, the sorceress, the daughter of the sun god. It's interesting how they just so happen to end with that kind of symbolism, the sun god symbolism right in your face. So this is what is going on, and please be aware, literally, please be aware of what's going on. The church is descending into chaos, into madness, into just utter performance, and it's become such a circus. I'm not saying that there's not good churches out there, but really, I really believe it's all about the small group. So again, do not be fooled. This is nothing other than a circus performance. And funny thing that Brian Houston himself had to send the second strike. So really, these people just do not want to be exposed, because they know the more they keep this going, the more they will keep people giving money, the more they will keep scamming people, and the more they can keep this circus, this show on the road. God bless you.